Hey guys, James here from Real Bias Gaming. I wanted to give some first impressions on the Halo 4 multiplayer. So first off, going into maps. Maps, they're balanced, they're exciting. I noticed the action never stays in the same place for long. You can play the same map 5 times in a row, and the action will be the hottest in different places every single time you played. Now, another great feature of the maps actually in Halo 4 is that they're really easy to jump into. It's not so much you have to play until you memorize the different routes and everything that goes with them. You can actually jump right in. They have these new waypoints now where they actually show the different grenades, the different vehicles, and the different weapons that are already on the map. So you can just see those the moment you pop in. You don't need to worry too much about memorizing which weapon is where and just stumbling across them at random. So I think this is a great improvement. Now, another thing for the maps, they're really expansive. I think it's just, and it seems obvious because Halo maps have been like this forever, but it's so refreshing when we get a new game like this instead of the tightly packed maps from, say, Blacklight Retribution or a lot of the maps from Call of Duty. You know, and this ties into my first point. It's not just that the maps are so big that you'll always be fighting in different places. It's actually that every map has so many cool places to fight and so many great choke points, different vehicle spawns and weapon spawns to actually fight over. So it's really well balanced and really well designed in that sense. So the different game types that you can actually play. There's definitely something for everybody. Objective-based players, solo pros, and people who are looking for huge conflicts. It's not Battlefield 3 when it comes to the huge numbers. I play on PC, so I'm a little spoiled when it comes to epic, huge numbers of players in a battle. But still, the largest game type means tons of explosions, tons of vehicles, and tons of guys facing off against each other. Plenty of kills. Alright, now, Regicide for me is going to be my pick for best mode. It's fast-paced, there's tons of points you can get for every kill, and it really ups the ante as each new king takes over and receives his bounty. Your bounty goes up for every kill you get when you are king, and then people killing you just suddenly just rack up the points. Now, there's nothing groundbreaking about this, of course, but it makes for some really great gameplay, and I think some of the best that's to be found in Halo 4. Now the loadouts. The loadouts, it's really a welcome feature here, being able to change what you start with, the different weapons you can choose, the different armor abilities, grenades, all that stuff. It's really cool and just adds this kind of tactical start to the game. Now the big game changer, though, in my opinion, is the drops you can get. All right, so you get the meter that you fill it up by getting kills, doing things like that, and then when it gets full, you have the 3 different options of weapons you can actually spawn essentially right in front of you. They drop down, and now some of the options, they're just kind of grenades. Like, okay, it's a throwaway option almost. You can find grenades almost anywhere on the map. But being able to call in a shotgun or a sniper rifle or an overshield right in the middle of the battle can completely change not only how well you're doing, but exactly how you're playing the match right there on the spot. Your entire gameplay changes at that moment. Now, there's more than other games in the series. I really felt that every time I picked up a weapon, I was really changing my role and changing the whole approach to the game, as I just mentioned. Every vehicle, every weapon, every armor ability, it doesn't feel just like a different way to kill enemies. It feels really, really distinct, and it allows for almost a blissful overload of options in every match you play, because in any match you can go from an assault trooper to a sniper to a transport gunner to all of these different kind of just roles that you can fill almost just, well, at the click of a button, at the hit of the A button. You can change the way you play, and I think it just creates a very, very dynamic atmosphere in every single match. Now, Spartan Ops is really definitely a part of the multiplayer. Now, and they really push this as something that was really, really cool. I think it's an enjoyable distraction at best. I feel like these missions tried to balance between a more storied content and the firefight game type from previous games, but they really failed to mesh the two together, alright? So first for the story, there is a narrative to the missions, but they're really easily overlooked or ignored. It's just a constant slaughter of enemies and clicking on objectives. It didn't feel like I had a storied purpose, and I think this was mainly because I didn't have a whole lot of characters playing with me. It was just the co-op person that was there on the battlefield usually, and so I found that a little less enjoyable from a true narrative standpoint. Now, just from gameplay, the missions, they can get very hard, and there are usually lots of enemies in an equally large amount of ways that you can take them out with gear that you have that is available to you and vehicles that they allow you to drive. but missions do seem a little bit short. I mean, even on Legendary, 15 or 20 minutes is the most you can expect on a mission. Now, the firefight missions could take much longer than that, and of course, difficulty is actually variable in the firefight missions, and it increases as the game goes on, whereas in the Spartan Ops, you just kind of pick a difficulty level and stick with that. And it was always a challenge in firefight in the same sense of urgency or danger as the game was ramped up. You didn't have to beat the Spartan Ops, or you didn't have to beat firefight and then go back and unlock a higher difficulty level. You couldn't beat it. It just kept getting harder and harder and kept throwing that difficulty at you. Now, in my opinion, really trying to survive or defending your base, the objectives in firefight, those are actually more compelling objectives than some of the ones in Spartan Ops. And so I think they kind of missed the ball, not only just on the narrative, but also really just the actual gameplay and the reason you're fighting these things. So now that being said, the new environments and areas you get to fight through do add a fun change in scenery, and it's definitely fun to be that competitive with a co-op partner, right? I feel like it is something that maybe should have left out for about a month till after launch, to bring to people a game back into the game who wanted a different experience. They played through the campaign, they played a ton of multiplayer, and then a month later, oh hey, here's Spartan Ops. These are more co-op stuff. You can play with a friend at home or a friend online, and that would have been really cool and brought people back into the game. But as of right now, I would really much rather play the co-op campaign, the regular campaign, or just play multiplayer rather than play Spartan Ops, right? So now, a couple other just final notes here. At first, I really didn't appreciate the instant respawn system. It felt borrowed, it felt just used before, and almost like it didn't fit. But, I mean, Halo has really sped up in the past several games that they've come out with, and after playing for a while, I think it really fits into their system perfectly and really detracts nothing from the gameplay. That being said, vehicles seem a little powerful, especially the Mantis on Infinity Slayer. That's that huge walker, and if you have one or two teammates just keeping people off your back, keeping them from running up and sticking grenades to you or yanking you out, it's not only very hard to kill the Mantis, but it's really easy for the driver to actually rack up a whole ton of points. Now, granted, a concentrated effort will definitely bring it down, but more often than not, your team isn't that coordinated, leaving the walker to just really walk all over your team, and can get kind of frustrating at times. So, overall, I think Halo 4 multiplayer, action-packed, beautiful maps, beautiful scenery. It's a very stable system, all the servicing working great so far. It's just an engrossing multiplayer, and I do have to say that this is why we have AAA titles, so that we can get experiences that are this incredibly good.